So before we dive in, how about you give us a little bit of company background and your title and role there?
Sure. So I'm working for Safran Electronics and Defense as a senior system and project engineering manager. I've been part of the Safran group for more than 10 years now in different business units and different roles. At Safran Electronic and Defense, we design, certify, and build pilot controls for both commercial and military aircrafts. And I manage a team of wonderful systems and project engineers who work on those pilot controls. And it's a lot of fun and it's a great place to be. So I really enjoy my current role.
What inspired you to pursue a career in engineering, and who are your role models along the way?
Yeah, so I've always loved science in school. I really love physics. I used to love a lot biology. I don't really do anything with biology anymore now. When I was in middle school, I actually wanted to be a veterinarian because I loved biology. I liked science, and I always loved animals. Um, Thankfully, we were asked to do a small internship with a professional of our choice, which I chose a veterinary in the countryside to kind of see what the real life was. And through that internship, I realized how difficult being a veterinarian is, how much fluids you're in contact with. And I realized this is not for me. I can't do this. So it was very eye-opening and very important for me to realize, like, oh, not romanticize what a actual job it is and understand what it really was. And so in high school, I started, being more interested in physics. And both my parents are engineers, so they had a big influence on me choosing engineering as, a degree. And yeah, I've never regretted it because it's a field that, offers so much possibilities of industries and roles that it was a great path to follow.
So can you share that defining moment that solidified your passion for engineering? I know what you didn't want to do.
Yeah, I think that when I initially, in high school, you have to choose what you're going to go and study. And, I picked engineering and I'm French. I did my study in France. So the system is a little bit different than the US. The two first years are very heavy in just math and physics, not really engineering per se. It's more just, establishing the basis to be able to build onto. And so I was just kind of like going into it, but in the second year, we were having a class on electromagnetism, and I was really passionate and like fell in love with the discipline. I thought it was so interesting because it's really complex, and so like when you are faced with that the first time, it seems like it's so, there's so many pieces coming together. It's so intricated and so complex, but the truth is, and then we had a fantastic professor that walked us through it. And when you go through step by step and you can pull things out cleanly, it just kind of like all falls into place like magic. And it's the beauty of like how nature just is so complex but so organized. And I just loved it. And so I think it was like a moment where I'm like, I made the right choice. This is really cool, and I'm really enjoying it. So a bit
That's
of like,
great.
okay, let's just go and do, physics and math, but also actually this is exactly what I like to do.
Isn't that great? That idiom is if you find something you're passionate about, you'll never have to work a day in your life. So that's pretty
Right.
cool. Um, so can you share a success story that highlights your contributions to a project or a team?
That's a great question. Like, who doesn't want to share something that went well?
Exactly. Come on, give yourself the pat on the back.
Right? Couple years ago, let's see, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. So I was working at Safran Cabin. At Safran Cabin, we do full cabin interior for commercial aircrafts. And I became the lead for engineering on the A220 Airbus platform. And the team for that was, I mean, we did the entire cabin interior, so it was a really big scope. The team was about 200 people, and we were divided in 4 sites. So we had 2 sites in California, Central Coast, Southern California, one site in Tijuana in Mexico, just at the border, and then one site in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And when I joined the team, those 4 sites were pretty divided, working a bit in silos, and there was a lot of finger pointing at one another when things were going wrong, just because it was, the local teams versus the other teams. And our relationship with the customer was really not great. Like the trust was not there. We had a lot of issues, which, there's always issues on projects, but the relationships were just really broken. And I think the success starts that when I came in that role, I really took time to know the people, know what was going on, what challenges they were working on. Obviously, I was in Southern California, so I got to know that team first and know them better because I was spending most of the time there. But I quickly went and traveled to the different sites to see who's this human that sends me email, right? Not just like a name on an email, but like who is this person? What's going on with them? And then I would go every quarter to all the sites to keep that relationship. But not only, one person is just not enough. There needs to be also that link between the people that are working day in, day out together on these projects. So we had, we organized a bunch of workshops and networking, team building events in the various sites. We had one in California. We had multiple in California. We had some in Tijuana. We had some in Brazil. Just again, so that people could see, okay, well, this lady that I keep emailing from Tijuana, like who is she and what are the challenges that she sees every day? And then I'm gonna be there in the factory and see that like when I ask her for this status, it's actually really hard for her to get it to me or whatever it might be. And I think building those relationships stronger was the key to the program turning around. Obviously, there are still problems, but the relationship is consolidated. People work well together. They trusted each other. They were able to admit that they were having issues. They would give a hand to others when they were in the other team was in trouble versus finger pointing. And the trust was restored with the customer as well. So I think this is like the success story that I like to share, which is taking the time to get to know people rather than jumping in directly into trying to solve technical problems and things like that. Because ultimately, if you have a whole team that works together in the same direction without finger pointing, it's just so much easier. And then I think one of the lessons learned of this as well is thankfully I already spoke English and Spanish, so that took care of California and Tijuana. I didn't really speak that much Portuguese, but I made the effort to learn, and it made a world of difference. Just being able to speak the local languages with everyone, even if it's not perfect, even if you have to switch back to whatever other language when you're trying to make a point that you can't find your words, really makes a difference and shows that you are committed to that team. So if you ever work internationally and you can, and you're willing to learn the language, I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's great. That is a great success story.